A police van in the Philippines rammed into protesters, leaving several bloodied at an anti-U.S. rally, which turned violent on Wednesday at the American Embassy in Manila. So we're going to look at this video, courtesy of ABC, and then get into a couple of quotes as to why they were protesting in the first place and try to dissect the issue.
The video shows a police van ramming protesters outside of the U.S. Embassy in Manila. Jeez. Left-wing activists were demanding an end to the presence of visiting U.S. troops in the Philippines when this was happening. You can see that the van just repeatedly slammed into protesters. Activists then surrounded the van and started hitting it. Protest organizers say that at least 3 student activists were taken to the hospital. Police lobbed tear gas and arrested at least 23 protesters.
Okay, so one of the protesters that was at the event had this to say on the matter. I mean, you can tell it looked pretty severe. The driver reversing back and forth, trying to barrage into the...
There was one person that was caught underneath.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I was gonna say to watch out. There was some brutal content. I think we took the opposite video, which wasn't as brutal, but there are some horror images out there. So this is what one of the protesters had to say. The protest leader, Renato Reyes, had this to say: "There was absolutely no justification for it, even as the president vowed an independent foreign policy. Philippine police forces still act as running dogs of the U.S. And then gone into the next quote, which is on the opposite end, which is actually one of the police chief thoughts on this matter. He said the driver was just trying to extricate the police van out of the area because the rowdy protesters were toppling or trying to turn over the van. Basically, there's 2 sides of it. Okay, the protest going on is one that's been going on for a few days now in the Philippines, and it's said to be as a way to protest against U.S. involvement in troops in the Philippines. And despite the fact that there's a very high popular rating of the president, they're trying to remove themselves from involvement with the U.S., but he has actually now moved forward to more involvement with China and try to mend relations there. So a quote here from the president of the Philippines had this to say: "I would say that China deserves the kind of respect that China now enjoys. We are ready to cooperate with you to help us in building our economy and building our country." So people are not happy about what's going on in the Philippines, and they're taken to the streets. And let's dissect the first matter at hand, which is the driver, in my bold opinion, was not trying to get out of the way, was not trying to reverse and try to find a nice, intricate way to remove himself from the crowd. The crowd wasn't exactly making it easy for him either, but it looks to me that he was trying to cause some damage, reversing back and forth with no control over his vehicle, and it wasn't the safest way to remove himself from the situation, I don't think.
Look, this is yet another case of political ideologies and political theater affecting real lives of real humans that don't know any better. The reality is, this is a leftist student organization, okay? And currently, when you look at it from a more macro perspective, there's a very interesting situation building out in both Syria and in South China Sea. Now, the reason why I mentioned both Syria and South China Sea is because the U.S. is currently negotiating with Russia over their involvement in Syria, and currently negotiating with China over TPP and control over the South China Sea. There's a reason why there's U.S. military involvement and training within the Philippines, okay? Now, these guys are obviously motivated a little bit by ideology, because the leftist ideology is still favors the communism and also like the Chinese involvement more so than American imperialism. So that's what they're lashing out against. And unfortunately, and because, by the way, today, as of today, the president of Philippines, what's his name again? I'm sorry, I don't want to mess it up. Rodrigo Duterte went to China and removed, or I don't even know, it was a very vague term, but he said he's removing his involvement with the U.S. and will ally himself with Chinese ideals. He further said that the U.S. is lost economically and militarily. Whatever that means, we're going to find out in the upcoming few weeks. But it's the same. They're also trying to align themselves with Russia now.
Yeah. So there's a very high positive rating initially for the president, Rodrigo Duterte. But one of the main things was kind of this nationalistic point of view, where they were uniting behind him and that Philippines could thrive without the external involvement of other countries. And that's what a lot of people were getting behind him. But then, as you mentioned there, it seems like he's moving from one potential superpower to help him to another growing superpower to help him there.
And
what
also
he said,
public sentiment is more positive still towards U.S. involvement
Yes,
rather
exactly.
than China.
China.
They trust China way less than they trust the U.S. for good reason. I understand.
So I think there's a way in which the protesters' interests are still being overlooked, right? And that this isn't just about U.S. intervention; it's about independence, right? Which is again being overlooked in this instance.
What they're trying to defend in this example is ridiculous, right? That they were trying to handle the situation and just the guy was trying to get out. But it's clear that their voices are not being heard. So they're going to turn out in their masses. And again, unless there's some sort of involvement put in place to put some sort of strategy for the police. Like, I understand when protests happen, it's hard to control everything, right? But if you put some sort of strategy in place and you understand as to what they're going out and protesting and they're coming out in their numbers, you don't have to result in a van being in the middle of a crowded area reversing over people's legs. Like, it's just barbaric to that extent. So, as you mentioned, the protesters were consistent of students, workers, tribespeople demanding an end to the presence of visiting U.S. troops in the Philippines and to support that call by the president. So they're obviously feeling like they're kind of being double-crossed. Like, all right, we're gonna unite. We're gonna kind of get behind our own country. I mean, everyone wants to try and have control of their own country. Believe me, I come from a country where we are constantly trying to vow against the bigger, badder brother in the United Kingdom. And I understand that it gets frustrating and protests happen. But in this example, it just seems like they're... In this example, it seems like they're just being overlooked and that they're moving their interests from one, as I mentioned, economic powerhouse
to a less
another.
favorable one.
But this is the question I want to have for you guys, is from maybe, like, so let's take a look at someone from the Philippines looking in on the current presidential campaign. Can you blame them for being somewhat worried as to what the direction of this country is? I'm not saying, like, we know Donald Trump's got a 12% chance of winning. We all understand any chance given to this guy is too much of a chance. But can you blame that, like the other candidate, how do they know they're going to have their best interests at heart?
Look, it's like I said, I personally think that negative sentiment, like a negative attitude any foreign country harbors against the U.S. is completely valid. Like 1,000%. Because since its inception, the CIA has admittedly involved themselves in foreign policy as a military interventionist foreign policy as a tool to manipulate other countries' political ideologies in an effort to destabilize regions like we're doing with the Middle East. And currently, right now, they are trying to take, like, the U.S. government is trying to force China's hand economically through the Trans-Pacific Partnership. People, when you look at a situation like this, it's easy to look at it as like, oh, students were protesting and a police officer was ramming a van back and forth on them. But the reality is it's much larger than that. Those people might be protesting because they hate U.S. involvement and they think maybe aligning themselves with China would be better for them, would secure them in the southern China Sea. They might not know what the realities are. I'm not even saying that American security in that instance is better. America is just protecting their economic future by becoming the global economy leader with multiple different trade deals that are ongoing currently. But it just sucks when you don't have the full picture and you just feel like, oh man, I just don't like American involvement, and then you put yourself in harm's way. And having said that, by the way, I don't really think that this Filipino police officer was like, I really love America and I hate my countrymen, so I'm gonna be the attack dog of America and like try to ram. I think he genuinely probably was like, oh, I hate these dirty, smelly hippies or whatever he was thinking, and wanted to, maybe even felt insecure within his vehicle, like, because they did take over some of the fire trucks and turned it over against the police force and whatever. But it's obviously wrongdoing, but is it widespread corruption within the Filipino police force that's dictated by America's economic or political gains within the southern China Sea? I don't know. I don't think it runs that deep.
Podcast the whole 2-hour Young Turks every single day, commercial-free. All-Star Tuesdays, Aggressive Progressives, Old School, Post Games, TYT Classics. You get it all with membership. Do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.